Sometimes what is not said speaks louder than any confession. This thought haunted me when I began exploring the McCann case. Imagine a scenario where 250,000 children disappear annually in Europe. A terrifying number, isn't it? But among so many stories, one resonates more, that of Madeleine McCann. It's a case that not only captured the world's attention, but also cast a deafening veil of silence. So, I wonder, is silence an admission of guilt or a shield against injustice? What if this stillness hides more than we can see at first glance? I promise that together, we will explore potentially revealing layers of silence. And it's not just curiosity, it's about understanding how the absence of words can carry so much weight and meaning. My own experience has taught me a lot about silences. I remember a time when I was so engrossed in my work that I neglected the warning signs in my personal life. I didn't realize that the silence of the person beside me was a cry for help. By the time I understood, it was too late to notice some of the emotional wounds that had formed. I learned the hard way that silence can be more revealing than any words, and this same lesson can be applied here to the McCann case. A 2020 study from the Journal of Applied Research in Memory and Cognition revealed that up to 50% of eyewitness testimonies can contain significant inaccuracies. This makes us question, are we relying too much on the narratives presented to us? The human mind is fallible, and perhaps we're ignoring what silence can tell us because we're searching for answers where there's only noise. Think of a situation where someone close to you chose to remain silent at a crucial moment. How did that impact your perception of them? In the McCann case, the silence of David Payne and the McCanns themselves raises a veil of doubts and theories. Are we ready to face what's truly hidden behind it? Ignoring this layer of complexity could have consequences beyond what we can predict. A practical example is Amanda Berry, who was held captive for years. She stayed silent because she had no other choice, but that silence wasn't empty. It was filled with resistance and survival. This leads me to reflect. What does the silence of McCann and Payne really mean? We're on the edge of something that could change everything we think we know. The truth may lie where they least want it to look. And if you, like me, believe that silence screams louder, then you're in the right place. Together, let's explore what's been ignored for so long and seek the truth that many fear facing. When we think about silences, especially in critical situations, we often encounter an emotional dilemma. This reminds me of Amanda Berry's case, a young woman held captive for years. During that time, silence wasn't just an absence of words, it was a survival strategy. And here we are, facing the silence of the McCanns and David Payne with the same emotional intensity. It's not just the absence of sound that intrigues us, but what this silence might be protecting or concealing. According to a 2019 study on the psychology of grief, silence in situations of extreme trauma can be a defense response. Imagine being under the weight of an accusation or public suspicion. Silence could be a shield, a form of psychological protection. Now, let me offer you a perspective you may not have considered. There's something called the scapegoat theory. Foucault warned us about how society often projects its fears and responsibilities onto a single figure, a convenient culprit. When we look at David Payne, we wonder, is he truly guilty or just an easy target for a society hungry for answers? Think about this. In our desperation for justice, are we creating narratives to fill uncomfortable voids? Perhaps you've felt unfairly accused of something or misunderstood. This experience of being a scapegoat is more common than we imagine and can be devastating. Have you ever stayed silent, not because you wanted to, but because you felt any words would be misinterpreted? That's the point many find themselves at. Silence can be a fortress. But what happens when society interprets this silence as an admission of guilt? The fear of the unknown, a deeply rooted emotion, drives us to seek explanations even where there are no clear answers. It's a cognitive bias that makes us fit puzzle pieces together hastily, even if they don't quite match. Natasha Kampusch, a girl kidnapped for 8 years, showed how silence can be a survival strategy. Her case teaches us that silence is often the only possible response to terror. This leads to an important reflection. Are we ready to face the truth that silence might be hiding, I invite you to imagine what your life would be like if a fundamental part of your story was silenced or misunderstood. What would you feel? Frustration, helplessness, or perhaps a desperate urgency to be understood? Now, looking at the statistics, it's deeply disturbing to know that 50% of eyewitness testimonies can contain significant inaccuracies. This makes us question the credibility of the narratives we have at hand, especially when faced with silence. The human mind is fallible, and perhaps we're ignoring what silence can tell us because we're searching for answers where there's only noise. If you think your questions are unique, know that you're not alone. The search for truth is a collective journey, and many question the same things you do. But what if silence can also be a trap? What happens when it's misinterpreted? The pain of not being heard or being misunderstood is something many of us have experienced. And here lies the urgency of understanding and interpreting silence. If we don't, we may perpetuate injustices and fuel flawed narratives. We're in the midst of an emotional and psychological maze where each step brings us closer to or further from the truth. And the truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered, even if it's hidden beneath layers of silence. This is an invitation for you, for me, for all of us, to unravel what lies behind this deafening stillness. After all, what does silence really tell us? It's time to face these tough questions and explore what many fear confronting. We've reached a crucial point. So far, we've explored how silence can be both a weapon and a shield. But there's something even more intriguing: the fragility of our memory. Elizabeth Loftus, a renowned cognitive psychologist, conducted a revealing study on false memory. She discovered that our minds are incredibly susceptible to distortions and manipulations, leading us to ask, if human memory is so fallible, why do we so often rely solely on it to find the truth? Imagine you're in a maze trying to find the way out. With each turn you think you're closer, but soon realize you're at a dead end. This is the perfect scenario to understand the McCann case. It's like a chess game, where every move must be calculated with precision. Yet many get lost, guided by blind trust in memories that may not be accurate. This revelation leads us to a powerful conclusion. Forensic data is crucial. It's not subject to the same flaws as our memories. Data is concrete, cold, and incredibly powerful. And here's where we find our "why didn't anyone tell me this before" moment. If we pay more attention to forensic data, we can start to see the full picture. So, how does this work in practice? Let's break it down into 3 steps. First, it's essential to establish that everyone involved is understood through objective data. Second, we must carefully analyze each piece of forensic evidence as if they were puzzle pieces. Finally, cross-checking this data with testimonies can reveal inconsistencies that human memory couldn't detect. To illustrate, think of a car accident. Often eyewitnesses have different versions of what happened. However, data from a car's speedometer or skid marks on the road tell a more accurate story. The same logic can be applied to the McCann case. It's simpler than it seems. Just replace blind trust in memories with concrete data. A powerful tool to consider is crime scene reconstruction software, which uses forensic data to create accurate digital reenactments. This helps visualize what really happened, without the distortions of human memory. With this approach, inconsistencies in testimonies can be unmasked, yielding game-changing insights. Let's look at a successful case. In a cold case of a child's disappearance, reanalyzing forensic data led to the discovery of new evidence that redirected the investigation. Using modern tools, investigators established a timeline of events that once seemed confusing. This not only clarified what really happened, but also led to the case's reopening and eventually a long-term resolution. But you might ask, how can we apply this immediately? First, practice questioning the source of the information you receive. Ask yourself, what's the source? Is it reliable? Then seek concrete data that supports or challenges what you think you know. A simple exercise is to review old news stories and check if forensic data was considered, or if everything was based on testimonies. This knowledge has the power to transform our search for truth, allowing us to see through the flaws of human memory. Now that we know this, how can we apply it? It's time to dive deeper into this perspective and move toward a fuller understanding. Using these tools, to light the way through the maze of truth. Let's start putting into practice everything we've learned so far. In Block 3, we talked about the importance of relying on forensic data to clarify complex cases like Madeleine McCann's. Now, let's dive into how you can apply this knowledge to investigate and question narratives effectively. This starts with organizing and categorizing all available information. Use a tool like Evernote to collect and store documents, testimonies, and evidence. Give yourself 2 weeks to gather everything. You can find about the case you're investigating. Note any details that seem out of place or contradictory. This step is crucial to ensure you're not relying solely on human memory, but on concrete, well-organized data. Next, commit to a detailed analysis of the evidence. Use crime scene reconstruction software like Zone 3D to visualize complex event circumstances. This can be especially helpful if there's forensic evidence like skid marks or the placement of objects. This process may take a week of dedication, but will provide a clear visual insight that text and memory cannot offer. Then, verify the consistency of testimonies. With your evidence organized, use an app like Trello to create a comparison between different testimonies. Spend a week analyzing and cross-referencing each statement with forensic data. This not only helps identify inconsistencies, but also provides a better understanding of the overall narrative. Another essential step is to seek an expert's opinion. Engage someone with experience in forensic analysis or criminal investigations to review your findings. Use platforms like LinkedIn to find and contact professionals willing to offer a second opinion. Reserve 2 weeks for this review. As external, insights can highlight something you might have missed. Finally, compile your findings into a concise report. Tools like Microsoft Word or Google Docs are ideal for this. These documents should include all evidence, analysis, and conclusions, and will take about a week to complete. This report will serve as a powerful tool for any further discussion or decision-making. Now let's talk about common mistakes to avoid. One of the most frequent errors is skipping the initial organization stage. This often happens due to haste or overconfidence, leading to rushed conclusions based on fragmented data. To avoid this, always start with a clear structure and review it regularly. Another mistake is blindly trusting technology without human review. Software is incredibly useful, but programming or interpretation errors can occur. Always conduct a manual review of your findings, especially when based on simulations or reconstructions. The third common error is neglecting expert input. Many believe they can conduct the entire investigation alone, but this is rarely effective. Involving professionals not only validates your work, but also offers new, valuable perspectives. To optimize your progress, it's crucial to measure your advancement objectively. First, track the number of identified and verified inconsistencies. Use a simple metric like counting statements confirmed or contradicted by evidence. The second metric is the time spent on data analysis versus the insights gained. This helps evaluate the efficiency of your process. Finally, record the number of new pieces of evidence discovered during your investigation. This provides a clear measure of how deeply you're delving into your analysis. You can expect tangible results within 4 to 6 weeks from the start of the process, depending on the case's complexity. To speed up the process, consider using automation where possible, like data analysis scripts. And now, an advanced tip: enhance your data analysis skills with online courses on platforms like Coursera or Udemy. A specific course in forensic analysis can provide crucial insights for your investigation. Once you've mastered these basic skills and achieved results, it's time to expand. Consider diving deeper into specific areas, like behavioral profiling analysis. The Masterclass Learning platform offers courses with experts that can further broaden your understanding. Ultimately, by applying all these techniques, you'll realize that the ability to question and investigate narratives is a powerful tool, not only in cases like Madeleine McCann's, but in any situation requiring a search for truth. Now that we have the tools, how can we use them to transform our pursuit of truth? The answer lies in continuous practice and an unrelenting quest for knowledge. Our journey so far has been intense and, I hope, transformative. Remember how we started, surrounded by curiosity and skepticism. questioning everything we thought. We knew about the McCann case. Now we've reached a point where, together, we've unveiled the power and complexity of silence. Before, there might have been a belief that silence was just an emptiness, but today we understand it can be laden with meaning and strategy. I've been in a situation where silence seemed like the only response, a way to protect my vulnerable heart, and by sharing this, I acknowledge the courage each of you needs to face difficult truths and look beyond appearances. You're part of something bigger, a community that isn't afraid to question and seek truth with passion and determination. Imagine your life now transformed by this new perspective, seeing the world with eyes that don't settle for the surface, but seek data, facts, and the true story behind the silence. Think about how this can impact your relationships, your work, your own understanding of the world around you. This knowledge is empowering. It allows you to move with confidence and clarity, knowing you have the tools to uncover the truth. And this positive urgency we feel, this need to act now, doesn't come from a place of lack, but from a genuine desire to build something better, to understand deeply. Connecting this to your dreams and aspirations is realizing that by seeking truth, you're building a more authentic future for yourself. Now I'd love to hear from you. What part of this journey impacted you most deeply? Where did you see yourself reflected in the stories we shared? I feel we're creating something powerful together, a community that values truth and shares this value with the world. Let's continue this conversation in the comments. I genuinely want to know how this experience resonated in your heart. And in return, I promise to keep bringing content that challenges us, makes us think, and above all, inspires us to act. If you felt this video added value to your pursuit of justice and truth, consider investing in our Super Chat. Every contribution helps keep this mission alive, bringing new content that can make a difference. It's an investment not only in quality content, but in a movement for justice that we're all part of. And speaking of continuation, don't miss the next video, where we'll dive into another line of investigation, exposing new secrets and revelations you won't want to miss. I promise it'll be even more revealing and transformative. Remember, silence screams louder, and it's our mission to listen, interpret, and act. Be part of this search for truth. It's a path we're walking together, and with each step, we get closer to a deeper, more meaningful understanding of what truly matters. Are you with us? Let's keep moving forward together.